Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Um, I've already talked about the Super Bowl basically in my quick that I did. But in any case, I'm going to talk about. I just read an article earlier today from the Washington Post by uh, reporter Chris Elliott or Christopher Elliott. Sorry, it's an interesting article, which is interesting to the point where they're talking about how airlines are getting tough on personal items. It's essentially like your carry-on bags, not carry-on bags, but more of like your book bag or laptop bag. What they're defining as personal items, where now they're making you check it um, to the point where what they're doing is basically forcing you to measure it as a personal item versus there's the carry-on bag, but then there's a personal item. Usually, a lot of the cases, it's a book bag, and they have these dimensions basically to make sure that it fits underneath what they consider a personal item is basically fits underneath your the seat. Um, so this is something where they're changing it now to the point where like people nowadays, where it's like Spirit Airlines, the budget airlines like Spirit and such, they allow for personal items, but for carry-ons they charge extra, much more than let's say a check-in bag, or for that matter, a charge more for like even with carry-on bag, it might be even more than the flight itself too. So more and more people are basically just just to shove everything to a book bag, a backpack basically, and try to put that in there. And nowadays, other airlines are starting to follow suit in that aspect, like American Airlines with their basic economy class and such. Basically, same thing with JetBlue. Like it's no carry-on, you can bring in a personal item and whatnot. But now some people are kind of like stretching those bags. Those what we would we consider a normal book bag, or would be a laptop bag or something, a laptop bag or something like that. They're kind of stretching it out a little bit to make it as a personal item, and then try to shove as much into it. Expanding out the dimensions a little bit, but you can still kind of like squeeze it in there essentially into the thing, squeeze it in there basically. But now airlines are becoming a little bit more stringent. It seems where they're starting to make you measure to make sure that can it fit into a underneath the seat is one thing, but the also other aspect is as well too is they feel that by their eyes they said, okay, you know what, that's not a personal item, we're going to make you either pay as a carry-on or check it basically, which is an extra whatever amount of money based from that perspective. um, and it's one of those things where it's like Spirit, the discount airlines like Spirit, Frontier, I don't know the other Frontier, Spirit, uh, I don't remember the others, but anyways, there are quite a few out there. But then, of course, like I said, there's American Airlines and such. I mean, it's to a point where, like American Airlines generate like about $7.40 per passenger in baggage revenue for 2021. That's about like $1.2 billion in revenue, system wide. Um, and because of that, it was more of a case where like because they were like enforcing the carry-on policy or check bag policy versus the personal item. Um, and it's one of those things where it's very hard to figure out because like you got to make sure when you pack up your bags, your backpack or whatever it may be, and you're considering that a personal item, again, personal items can be a backpack or something like a laptop bag. Um, what's that called? Your purse essentially, and and it's one of those things where or a briefcase for that matter, but it's still got to fit in underneath the thing though. And so like American Airlines, with them they have strict size limits. And then also Delta is one of those ones where they don't really publish the size for restriction, but they usually define it as like a briefcase basically, or a laptop bag, or something of that similar size basically. So long as it fits underneath, in front of you, or in the overhead bin, they're kind of okay with it. Whereas now Southwest Airlines, um, but now what the thing is like with the personal carry-on luggage, they don't consider it a charge for it for Delta. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do, depending on how it works out. Where Southwest Airlines, they don't really limit the size of personal items, but they say it has to fit by like a certain size. Basically, I think it's like 16 and a quarter by 13 and a half inches by 8 inch depth, basically under the seat. And then United Airlines basically calls purses, backpacks, or laptop bags as a personal item as well too, and they just have to fit into it by a dimension of like 17 by 10 by 9, basically. Um, but it's weird that each airline kind of defines personal item with the dimensions differently. Um, so it's it's one of those things where if you are planning to go on an airline where the flight is cheaper but where it requires no carry-on, and you know it's going to be a 3-day flight or something like that, or a 3-day trip, yeah, put it into your personal item bag, but you got to make sure that it fits on there. So you got to go on there on when you're booking, making sure to see what their dimensions are to make sure it actually fits. Because nowadays they are becoming a little bit more stringent and more observant, as far as what bags can get, what personal items can get on. So you do have to be careful on that. And the other aspect is also being careful that if they do say, hey, if your bag goes off by an inch, they're gonna make you check it in. So you got to be careful about that. Um, I'm just like taking a look and I'm trying to see like other ways that you could see to get around it, but it's not as easy as nowadays. In the past, people would like with spare, yeah, you put a backpack in and then you layer up on clothes. Some people have been doing it where they bring a pillow and then like shove the clothes in there into a pillow and then use that. Kind of could do that as well. And then there are some where they basically will just put clothes on them and then go to the bathroom, take it out, and then just put it into a plastic bag and then shove that underneath as well too. Or in some cases, the person next to them, they'll just shove that underneath their seat, basically. I don't know. I've seen people do that. I've never done that personally, but I've seen others. I've seen people that are boarded on the plane doing that. Actually, one person actually did that to me, where they took their bag and had another personal item. They put their purse under their thing, and then there was an empty seat between us in the middle seat. They shoved it into the middle seat. I saw them eyeing it, but before they could do that, what I did, I just put my foot there, and then basically like because I had long legs, extended my legs out to make sure that they couldn't um, put it in basically. I mean, I was a jerk for doing that, but at the same time, it's one of those things where um, honestly, I didn't think they were going to do it in that aspect, where they were going to do it like that, because they were gaming the system on their end as well too, knowing full well that one, it turns out someone did come in and actually had to take the middle seat. So I kind of saved that person in that aspect as well too. The person was eyeing me, of course, but I was like, you know what, that's on you, basically, not me. Um, Again, oh sorry, I should say though, is one of the things is um, if you are sending me a chat or comment message through the, because it's live streamed right now, I don't see those chats, but I, or comments, whatever it's called, but I probably will see them after the end of it, so I'll be able to like respond to them after the live stream is done, of course. Um, but you're also welcome to put your comments in place. Comment, and I will respond to them. I do read my comments, by the way. I do read my comments, and I do respond to them the best I can. Um, Also, I do ask, like, please subscribe. It's one of those things where this is one of those things where I would have loved to have, like, streamed through my phone at least, and then talk to you about this versus, a laptop. This is a personal laptop with my Surface tablet. It's like the first version. It's not that great. Um, and using a mic and all that stuff is kind of weird as well too. Actually, this is trying a layer. The the mic itself is basically used from something else back in the day, where my old work laptop actually the mic basically was broken, as well as the speaker. It was a Lenovo. I had to plug it in basically just to like so I could hear and that people can hear me at the same time. Now it's just a holdover basically, and now I just use it for either work or my work laptop, but more often than not for when I'm doing these live streams or videos on YouTube on my tablet. And I gotta say, I should review my Microsoft Surface laptop, which is pretty good. But I'll do that much on another different time as well too. With that, though, I do ask you to subscribe so that I could actually, stream from my phone or device. It says you have to have 1,000 users or 1,000 subscribers to be able to essentially live stream from your device. If I can get 1,000 subscribers, that'd be great. If I do get 1 million, I'll do a live. I think I've mentioned them quite a number of my videos. I'll do a live dance. trending dance at that moment in time. When it's about to hit 1 million, I'll do it right then and there. Um, Sorry, this is relatively not new, but it's more of like, it's like streaming, and like I've never really streamed as much, but I did make a New Year's resolution or goal to basically at least stream once a week live, on any random topic. Basically, I should under normal circumstances I would probably talk about the next day after the Super Bowl, but there's not much to say. Basically, it is what it is. Actually, I could talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. As far as um, it sucks that a lot was taken away, is being taken away from the Kansas City Chiefs and how they won the game. More so because the fact is, like, this was more of a referee kind of what they call a phantom call, but I mean, there's some cases where it looks like he was holding. But at the same time, this is again at the same within 2 minutes, a penalty was called, and then it allowed for Kansas City to move forward. Kansas City, to do a field goal, just like what it was 2 weeks ago against the Bengals. Um, More and more people are starting to argue that, like, what, refs are making, like, cheap calls, but in reality, I don't think it is. They've got instant replay, they've got a lot of things in play now, so I don't think that's a huge issue right now. I think it's more of a case where it just kind of sucks that the way Kansas City came back, uh, it's being taken away from that as far as how they came back. Um, and mind you, let's not forget, like, this is one of those things where, like, Philadelphia is not going to be away, gone as a result of this. They'll probably be back again in the Super Bowl next year for all we know. I mean, the competition in the NFC is not as strong as you'd think it would be. I mean, the only team that would be up to par is probably maybe Dallas. Um, Definitely not Minnesota, and Dallas and San Francisco. I mean, those are the big three that you're probably going to see again and again. Again next year, high up in the divisional playoffs and the conference playoffs for that matter. I mean, Hertz has learned. It's one of those things. I think this case, the Eagles learned from this that, what, they had no running game outside of Hertz, so they're going to have to build up on a running back, and probably I have a feeling they're going to go sign Saquon Barkley, or yeah, most likely Saquon Barkley. It's gonna suck as a Giants fan seeing Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles, but I think Saquon, knowing full well that his time is limited, he wants that Super Bowl ring as well too, and he knows he can produce, and take a lot of the pressure off of Harris from running. It's gonna work out for them perfectly. The Giants are not gonna resign Saquon. I wish they will, but they're not. It's gonna kind of suck at that point as well too. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is one of those things where I try to keep my live streams under 20 minutes, just like my videos. I try to keep them under 10 to 15 minutes, between 10 to 15 minutes. This one's already going at like 13 minutes, but that's most of the case because of I'm doing lots of ums and such. Mind you, like I said, it's one of those things where, talking back to the Washington Post article, it's a great article actually. To be honest with you, you should actually read it. Um, I'll probably try to put a link on here to it, but the thing is, sometimes you have to pay for it or whatever it may be. I'm fortunate the fact that I don't have to pay for it right now, but because sometimes they do offer freebies here and there once in a while. I somehow got it somehow I'm getting it. But it's a great article actually, surprising, and it actually brings up the point. It's like nowadays people were abusing, well, not abusing, but more of finding loopholes for the airlines, as far as when it came to discount, those discounted airlines, and like as far as utilizing personal items, which I've done personally as well too. I mean, I remember going. I mean, if I'm going to a place that's mostly summer, just bag shorts and t-shirts. That's it. Shorts and t-shirts. I don't need any jeans. If I need any jeans, I'm just wearing the jeans I'm wearing right then and there, basically on the plane. But if it's like heavy cold winter stuff, that's a problem. Then I mean, at that point, sweaters is going to be problematic. At that point, you can only fit so many sweaters into a bag, as well as long sleeve shirts, as well as pants and jeans as well. That's going to be a little tricky. But summertime, it's great. I would say shove some stuff into the backpack, and just head on out, and you're good. I mean, if it's a 3-day weekend, there you go. It should work. 4 days, you can probably stretch it to 4 or 5 days, depending. I mean, you also have to learn how to do those tight packing rolls, so roll your clothes up really tightly, and maybe using those cubes, those packing cubes, or those vacuum seal bags. Sometimes those work out really well too. To be honest, those vacuum seal bags actually do work really well. Um, I suggest you try those as well too, to be quite honest. And it does fit into a bag. I do have a bag, that happens to be, a normal laptop size bag. I'm able to fit a lot of stuff in there, so it's great as well too. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Again, like I said, please subscribe, and also please leave any comments as well. I'll try to respond to them if there are any. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed.